Hi there, my name is Kendrick and welcome to another ENFP male interview. Today I get to interview Tiana. Tiana, welcome.
Hi.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us your full type, please?
Okay, so I'm an ESFP, double feminine, Se-Fi, consume, sleep, play, and blast last.
Awesome. And then what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
I was really surprised because I self-typed as FISI, so I thought it was a sleep INFP, so a INFP jumper, sleep first. I thought it was play last, so I thought I was info dominant, which I guess it kind of makes sense because I pretty much switched the info dom and the energy dom in like two places, if that makes sense. Like instead of being a decider, I'm an observer, and instead of info dom, I'm energy dom.
Yeah.
So it's still balanced, but in different ways, I guess. If that makes sense.
Kind of. I mean, I guess you're saying you kind of type yourself opposite slightly, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was still SF, so I think it's pretty easy for me to accept my type because I know I'm still SF. So yeah.
Okay, well, since you already mentioned it, let's talk about that first. You said that you are SF first. So you thought you were SF and then you came out SF. So you knew right away that you were SF. How did you come up with that conclusion prior to your typing?
So I feel like I cheated a little bit because my mother-in-law, she's super into MBTI. So she told me right away like what she thinks I am. And when I first met her, she was like, "Are you an SP?" And then she went back and she said that she thinks I'm an NF because I cried to her or something. Like I was like crying about my family and stuff. She's like, "How can you not be an NF?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'm an NF, whatever." And then as I got more into like, MBTI, and I discovered David Shannon's channel and got into the class and everything, and I studied all of that, I started to evaluate, and I'm like, maybe I'm still an INFP, but like, am I a jumper? Or I like had to really think about all of that stuff. And I figured that I was sensory, but feminine sensory, because I forget a bunch of stuff, but I still like doing a lot of sensory things. So yeah, that's how I figured that out.
That's cool. Well, that helped.
Yeah.
You are NF though, because you are SF NF. Your second savior is also NF. So it looks like your, the person that typed you was spot on.
Yeah.
Kind of, in a way, in like both her assessments. Now that you are lead SF and that's confirmed, did that change anything for you, or it's about the same thing, like business life as usual?
Well, since it's extroverted sensory instead of introverted sensory, I guess it makes a lot more sense to me because, anecdotally, like I eat a lot. I'm like really small, but I eat like so much. And I just like keep going until I feel sick. So I guess that's kind of an SE thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that later because I think that's also tied to your sexual modalities. So with the SF lead, let's start with your extrovert sensing first.
Sure.
It's feminine. You already mentioned that you tend to forget things a lot. But what else are you doing with that feminine extrovert sensing? Like it's feminine, so it's a gathering function, but it's feminine. So how is that like? How do you personally experience it?
So when I'm at home, I pretty much will like move around my house and start a whole bunch of projects. As soon as I see something, I'll be like, "Oh, I need to do that." So I'll start it, and then I'll see something else, and then I'll say, "Oh, I got to do that too." So I start that, and I don't really finish anything. And so, but I will eventually. So I start something, and then I start another thing, and I'm kind of juggling like a whole bunch of things. and then eventually get back to the first thing and finish that. And then I'm pretty much just like constantly looking at everything.
Right. And then you have masculine FI. So can you share some of the what values do you have that you adhere to personally? Like, what are some of your personal values?
Personal values. My mind's like completely blank right now as soon as you ask me, like, what are my values? At first I thought I was feminine sensor or feminine feeling, because I wasn't really sure if my values are movable. But my values right now, I just, want people to be happy, pretty much, like pretty basic, I think. And I try to do things in a way that, like, if it makes me happy, then it most likely would make them happy too. So I try to implement that in my life and do things in a way like, wow, that's really annoying. So if I think that's annoying, I'm gonna not do that. Stuff like that. And I try to keep a perspective of like what other people complain about. So if I hear someone complaining about something, I'll like take that and make it a part of my identity and say like, oh, they don't like that kind of stuff. Okay, then I won't do that kind of stuff because I don't want them to be upset.
So that's not you just double deciding then, like you can see everyone's perspective, and then
Probably.
yeah, I guess that's why you're not an INFP, because you're still balanced with self and tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you were just purely an INFP, you would be like, I don't know what they want, but I don't care. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go over your sleep. That's your second animal. Your second animal is double masculine NF sleep. So you would this would be very prominent in you. Like you probably feel this a lot and probably think about this a lot.
Yeah.
Let's start with your mantra. So everyone that I've interviewed in this quadra, so a lot of them tell me they don't have one, but then they have one. So let's see if you have one. So a lot of them have a code or mantra that they kind of adhere to. And I'll give you some examples and then maybe you can tell me if you have some. Okay. So Jocko Willink, his is like discipline equals freedom, which is a very growth mindset mantra, because as an EP, you lack discipline. So, but you want freedom. So in order to get freedom, you need to be disciplined. Let's see. I'm blanking out right now. Oh, Kamala Harris, her mantra is, she's an ENTJ, so same quadra as you. Hers is be joyful warriors, right? So, I think she realized that lead TE can be harsh. So let's go help people a little bit, but let's be friendly about it, So I think that's a very good one. I like that one too. Steve Jobs had one too, but I forgot. It's like something about like be curious, be foolish or something. Which I think that means like don't just stick in your box, like go outside of it, which I think is also growth mindset for an IJ. So do you have one personally that you have as like a mantra that you adhere to?
Let me look. Do you mind if I look maybe at my Facebook really quick? Because I probably have something in there.
Yeah. Okay. So while you're looking, I'll rattle off some more stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can think some more. Yeah, I'm blanking out right now, so it's fine. So we'll just wait for you to see if you find it in Facebook.
Sure. I'm trying to think. I don't want to just like, copy or like be an EP and like do the opposite of copying, So
Yes.
I want to be genuine and I want to look at something I've already said.
Sure.
Huh. Interesting. So something I posted like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess you could call it a mantra, or one of my various ones. I said that honestly, nothing in the world matters except what you're doing to contribute to it.
Okay. Do you relate to that right now? Because that was 6 years ago.
In a way, yeah. if you're not contributing to the world around you, like what are you doing? You're just kind of taking from everyone.
Right.
So,
Right.
mhm.
Do you have any more, or is that like the main one that you kind of adhere
Um,
to?
let's see.
Like my girlfriend is an INTJ jumper, and her mantra is discomfort over resentment. You know, so
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, that's a really good one. Um, I always try to tell myself and also other people, like, just do what you got to do so that you can say that you did your best and it's in the other person's court. So, like, you got to do your due diligence. And once you've done that and the other person doesn't reciprocate, that's their fault.
and then what do you do then? Like if they
You
don't
just let it
reciprocate,
go.
I'll just let go of it, like the relationship or
Oh,
uh,
relationship? No, I'm talking about like
work. Is that work
just
or
like
what?
yeah, like regular day-to-day experiences.
Yeah.
Like if you have a conflict with someone and like at work, I guess, yeah, and you just like really hate them or something. You think they're really annoying. Like, okay, do the work, reach out, like try to see eye to eye, and then you do that and they don't want to, then okay, that's their problem.
I see. So I basically you've done your best
Hmm.
and just
Yeah, do your
let it go.
best.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think that also ties in with your first mantra,
Hmm.
like, yeah. You weren't being a taker. You were trying to resolve it and it didn't work. So, okay, whatever. It is what it is. Right. Um, so the interesting thing about your type is, as an ESFP, one of your life problems would come from your NI. But the interesting thing is your NI is actually touch in a savior state because of your lead sleep, or sleep second, sorry. And it's also masculine, so you're gonna see it even though it's fourth. How do you personally see your masculine NI?
Yeah, it's weird because I don't really see it as a demon either. Like you said, because it's in my second animal and because it's masculine, I always thought that I was pretty good at it. But also when I was growing up, I did run into that problem a lot where I had a situation that I needed to resolve and I had a gut feeling and I'm like, is this happening? I don't know. Is it happening? I would ask myself, like, I just need to gather more information. And then it turns out my guess was right, but I didn't trust my guess first. I just waited to see if like more information came out. So I did struggle with that growing up. And then I went through this like weird like awakening, like spiritual awakening kind of thing where I did start to like look like kind of like a stereotypical like NF guru. And I would post on my Facebook so many things like, you know, um the like, why are you waiting? Your life is right now. We're always waiting for something. Like just do what you need to do or whatever, stuff like that. And I posted a lot of like inspirational content on my Facebook and social media stuff. So that's when I guess what I was discovering my like NI and my sleep and like processing and all of that. What was the question? I don't remember what we were talking about.
Oh no, I was just asking you how you experience your NI.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I feel it tugging at me. So I'm like I see the pattern, but I'm like, no, I don't want to believe that. What if I'm wrong? So I will just keep gathering more information.
And do you still do that right now, or do you trust the NI more?
I've learned to trust it more. Especially I think what helps a lot is being part of a class because you really have to bring everything together and narrow down on a type. So that's really helped me to, especially with the blast, I think, to just like spit a type out and stop like over consuming and over processing. So
Gotcha.
mhm.
I'll ask you about this later on about your SE and NI, like what's going on there, because like those two kind of like they're supposed to work together.
Mhm.
But I'll ask you about that in a bit. But let's cover your TE first. Your feminine TE. How do you personally experience that feminine TE?
Lately, I'm constantly I'm always bothering my husband with it. So in a way, I'll use my TE to justify my FI. So I'll ask him like, hey, what do you think about this? But what about this? I'll ask him and I'll go back and forth with him, but I'm kind of like trying to lead the conversation so that he'll give me permission to like enjoy my FI.
Right.
I want to hear my FI in his words. So I'll just, yeah, I'll look for TE, but it's for my own benefit.
So you're manipulating the conversation for your FI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's funny. Um, your play is ST. How do you personally experience that ST play?
I guess it'll come off as like when I'm joking around. It'll just come out in spurts when someone is having a conversation and I'll see like an opportunity to say something kind of like snarky. It'll come out like, and it sounds kind of like I'm making fun of whoever I'm talking about, but in a way where it doesn't sound like I'm being mean. So they'll start laughing about it, and it in a way it helps me to like call them out on something instead of just saying like, hey, you're doing this and it's stupid. They'll be like, oh, haha, yeah, you're right. Like I am kind of doing that.
Do you also like dad jokes? Because like I notice a lot of people with like ST play love
Oh my gosh, I do.
like
I do.
those really lame dad jokes. Like, do you love those?
Yes.
Yeah. You have one that is particularly your favorite?
um I mean, if I get the opportunity, I will pull out the hi hungry, my name is Tiana. Yeah, I'll do that. Actually, when I was what is it called? Announcing my pregnancy to my family. I actually kept it a secret because none of them live next to me. So I waited until I went to go visit them to show them my belly. And my dad, I had a shirt on that said, currently in quarantine, coming out in, the date. And I was like, hey dad, like my shirt, look at it. And it has like an arrow pointing to, and he's like, currently in quarantine, ha ha ha. And then he's like, oh, are you serious? I'm like, no, I'm Tiana. So like super like touching moment. It's supposed to be like NF and I'm like ST play like
Yeah,
no,
I see.
Tiana.
Yeah, I see. That's funny. Um, besides the the dad jokes, do you also like do you also like to help people get things done? Because
Oh
it's ST,
yeah.
right? So it's like getting things done. Like
I love helping people to get things done. Especially I think that comes out in like work. That's one of my favorite things that I liked about being a barista was I used to work at Starbucks. So when I was on bar or someone like two of us were on bar, I would focus, and this was my best friend too. I think she was also an ESFP, to be honest. So she would be making drinks and then I would help her and like pour stuff for her and then finish stuff. And like that was like the best, I think, like the best work environment in terms of like doing stuff that I liked because I got to activate my play and also get in the zone. So that was pretty fun.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
I also worked in Starbucks when I was younger, so I get yeah. Now let's talk about your double decider, FITE. So those two, do you feel like it's very easy for you to go back and forth between those two rapidly? Like, okay, this works for everyone, but I don't feel good, so I'm gonna do something for myself. But I also understand their perspective, so let's find a win-win situation. Like, is that something that you do already pretty quickly, like on a normal basis?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that I did that, but I guess I do, especially when the whole like Trump thing was happening. I was like, yeah, he's not an evil person. He's just a person like that people don't like and a lot of people disagree with. And you know, I don't like a few things that he does, but he's not an evil person. Like he's
Yeah.
just a human being that like makes mistakes, says a lot of weird things. Just like, you know, I say a lot of weird things, sometimes controversial. um and one of my friends was like, how can you say that?
That's funny.
Like, I mean, he's a human, so like that's how I can say that.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny how double desires refuse to get sucked in, like the trap of like, no, that person's bad, this person's good. It's like,
Mhm,
people are flawed. It is what it is. Like, so
mhm,
I see that. That's cool. Um, yeah, I guess the single desires will never understand. It's kind of hard to explain. Like,
mhm.
being able to see all like humanity, for their good and bad, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about your blast last. So this is the hardest one for you.
Mhm.
Um, your blast is actually the same blast as the INTJs have. So technically, if you practice it, you could do the blast that like Dave and Shan would be doing.
Mhm.
So can you picture yourself doing those kind of blasts that they do? You know?
You know, I don't know if this is me peacocking, but like I feel like I could. But it has to be about something that I like. Like I can't just blast about anything, you know? It has to be about something that I'm passionate about and that I've done the work, obviously, of like consuming, processing, making it my own. So like I know what I'm saying and I'm not just like saying what someone else is saying and parroting what they're saying. Cause then I'll feel like I'm not being genuine. And also I'll question like if I'm actually saying the right thing. So I definitely could, but it would have to be like planned for sure.
Yeah. Well, of course, because the NI
Yeah.
is planning. So you
Mhm,
plan first and then you TE, give the solution, right? Now
mhm,
your blast is NT, so it's like nerdy or it's like puzzle solving. Have you seen yourself like, let's say, you had friends, family members, coworkers, whatever. They had a problem. They told you the problem, but it's not like a problem that you can solve in the moment. It's something that you have to figure out. So NT, right? Have you ever gotten a chance to do that where like you went home, figured it out on your own, and then kind of organize it in a way where like, okay, this is how this person can solve this problem. And then like you went over to that person and kind of presented your view on how to solve it. And there's like a system and everything because NI, right? It's all about having a system to solve the
mhm.
problem. Have you ever done anything like that before or
I
not?
don't think I have, honestly. I don't know if I have. Usually people don't come to me for that kind of stuff. They usually come to me for like therapy. Like they they'll like tell me that they feel like they come to me for more emotional stuff more than like NT stuff.
Would you feel good if at one point in your life you become that person to provide the anti solution as opposed to just
Oh
emotional?
yeah,
Or
definitely. It's really weird to me though, because people think that I'm smart. So like they'll say that I'm smart, but then they come to me for like emotional stuff. So it's kind of weird. I don't know.
maybe
Um,
maybe when they say smart, maybe they mean like you have a lot of wisdom, you know?
that's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think the wisdom and NT are different things, right? Like the NT
Oh,
is
for
like
sure.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So for you to practice NT blast, what do you think you need to do to like start getting, the hang of it,
Um, I guess just, you know, get started. Like Blast is just like do it really bad and then keep doing it until it becomes better. I actually did kind of like practice blasting when I first got into OP, because I was so excited about it. I started like telling all my friends like, hey, can I tell you about this? Like, can I find out what your type is probably? And so the only way to find out someone's type really is to like watch them. But just for practice, I would like tell them about the system and explain each coin or each function and whatever. So I kind of did practice it, but it probably came off more consumey than blasty, if
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it feels like you did like a mix of play and some blasts, you know,
Mhm.
like a combination, you know. So
Yeah.
you can definitely get away with teaching with play. So it's something that I've seen with people who have blast. It's like, okay, well, I'll use play. You know, like my girlfriend's studying to be a teacher right now, and she would tell me how she would manage the kids when she's doing the volunteer work to get the hours to qualify to be a teacher or to be in a teaching program. And I'm like, oh my God, you're just using all play. You're like, okay, so what do you guys think? You know, it's like trying to like do a ping back and forth, you know, or try to tell her dad jokes too, because, you know, ST, like, you know, and like, yeah. So I'm like, huh, interesting. The ST play is definitely there. But yeah, the NT blast is interesting. Like, I think, like, have you watched people besides Dave, of course, and Shan, with like NT blast and like kind of like seen what they've done and kind of like trying to mimic what they do, you know?
Not really. I can't remember if, do you remember what type Mayim is?
Who?
Mayim Bialik or Bialik? How do you say her name? The lady from the Big Bang Theory. Is she an NT? I can't remember if she's an NT blast or an ST blast.
I vaguely remember this person. So is this a recent class? I have to look at the class now.
It was a few months ago. Let me look her up. But I think she's an NT blaster.
How do you spell the name?
Mayim, Mayim.
MAYINTJ. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, she is, right?
Oh yeah, this woman. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about her?
So I remember watching her for the class, and like every time she would start talking about NT, my mind would go blank. Especially because it's about like science stuff, you know. I have no experience in that realm whatsoever. So as soon as she starts like blasting about all of that, and because I'm visual, like, you know, I'm a visual learner, well, not visual, but double feminine, the feminine sensory, like I can't see anything, so my mind is just like fuzzy.
Yeah. So if she had diagrams and stuff, you would understand it better?
I think so, yeah.
I see. Okay, so since you brought it up, let's talk about you being a visual and tester. Okay, tester visual, sorry. So earlier in the interview, you said that you eat a lot. So this seems to be like a double feminine thing, or whatnot. Not like other times don't eat a lot. Like I eat a lot too, but people, but it seems like different types eat for different purposes. Okay, so what I've noticed with tester is that tester does two things. Number one, they like to experiment, and number two, they have a keen sense of smell, and they like to like try different scents and different food, because food is essentially a smell. So you know, so I noticed that a lot of people who are testers, they love like different like candles and like all that stuff, you know. Do you relate to it, to that, any of that stuff? Like, do you try like a lot of different like scents, like food and smells, and
So certain smells are actually like way too strong for me and like really weird. So I don't really like candles, but I do have a very strong sense of smell. And it'll often like remind me of different, like, I guess you could say vibes. So if I smell a certain cologne that I used to smell when I was a kid, it'll remind me of that person, and I'll instantly think like of the memories of that person, and I'll kind of like try to, if I don't remember where that smell is from, I'm gonna obsess about like, where do I know this smell from? And it's really weird. I used to associate the smell of dog urine and pine trees with Washington State.
That's funny. Why? That's weird.
Because I used to live in Hawaii, and when I would visit Washington, where my family was, and I would go around the neighborhood, I would smell that. And so I started associating like Washington with that, and then I would go home. But now I don't. But now it just reminds me of like that part of my childhood.
Do you miss living in Hawaii? Because like the weather in Washington sucks.
Actually, I like it here.
You like the rain and stuff?
Yeah, I like the cold.
Okay,
What were you gonna say?
nothing. No, I was gonna say it's weird, but okay, whatever. Just keep going.
Yeah, it is weird. No, you're right. But it helps me to enjoy the sun, because when I was in Hawaii, I felt like too much sun, because I lived in a part of Oahu where there's like it's just like constantly beating down on you.
Yeah.
And I had to walk to school. So I was literally like 6 shades darker than this probably.
Yeah.
But so I didn't really like that part. But yeah, I do kind of miss it in a sense, but mostly for the food. Sometimes for the weather, but I like it here.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because then, that's a huge change, right? And like the area that you live in is like close to where I live. And it's in this whole area here, it's always raining. So, um, but if you like it, that's a good thing. So you are Hawaii native then?
I'm not so if you're from there, you try to avoid saying that you're native from Hawaii.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like you're born there. Like
yeah, I was born there. Born and raised. Not Hawaiian by blood though.
Are you Asian?
Yeah, Filipino and Korean.
Oh, okay. So are you 50-50?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I was like, what kind of you look kind of Asian, but I'm not sure what kind of Asian you are.
Yeah, I actually took a DNA test. And apparently, but it's like the ancestry one, so it's not as accurate, I think, with Asian DNA.
Oh, I see.
But apparently there's a little bit of Indian there too, like from like Sri Lanka or what are those Indians places called? I can't remember.
Bangladesh?
Yeah, like Bangladesh or whatever.
Yeah.
There's like a 1% DNA in there.
Okay. Yeah, and then the rest are Filipino. And are you exact? Was it exactly like 49 Filipino?
Yeah, I think it was like 49%, and then 1% Indian. Probably because of the Philippines are just like a mix of a bunch of stuff. So
did you have Spanish blood too? Because Philippines is
surprisingly no Spanish blood.
No Spanish blood. Okay.
Yeah,
because I was born in the Philippines, so I have friends. Like I have a coworker here. He did his 23andMe test, and he's a decider too. He used to get really weird about like the whole race thing, like like he would go up to me. He's like you're Filipino. I'm like, I'm Chinese. I'm a Philippine national, but my blood is Chinese. I'm 99% Chinese and like 0.1% like those Stan country ones. So
I was really confused because I've watched a few of your videos and I heard the Filipino accent, but your last name is, well, how do you pronounce it?
We.
And you don't, I mean, you could look Filipino if I wanted you to.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't think he's Filipino, but he has the accent.
Yeah, I do.
That's really cool. Honestly, that's really cool.
Yeah, I was born there and I can speak it fluently.
Mm-hmm.
I came here when I was young, but I never forgot the dialect for some reason. I didn't even have any Filipino friends. I didn't even know how I remembered it. But
Wow.
yeah, but yeah,
There's
yeah.
like a large Chinese population over there.
Yeah, there's a massive Chinese population there.
I have no idea because I'm like really American. So
yeah, I can hear. But yeah, no, when I was there, it's pretty racist actually. Like
oh my gosh.
Chinese people are racist. It's horrible. I mean, it's not so much anymore. So thank God. But like when I was a kid, oh my God, it was really bad. Like I had some grandparents, like not my grandparents, but my grandparents' siblings. They would say like really like fucked up things to me. Like, you can't eat the same table as those Filipinos, they're below you, I'm like, oh my, like I was a kid, I already knew it was wrong. Like I already knew what they were saying was wrong,
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
No, yeah, it was extremely racist. Like, and like even my dad had a Filipina girlfriend and he wasn't allowed to marry her. And so they had to do an arranged marriage to find him a Chinese wife, which is my mom, So it's not surprising when they got divorced because they didn't marry out of love. They got married from like,
That's crazy.
because they're Chinese, you have to marry someone
Yeah.
Chinese, right? So, but like I said, it's not like that anymore. Like now, all my cousins are like, they're married with like a Filipina, they have a Filipina wife or Filipino husband, and it's okay. Like their parents like kind of like grumble about it, but it's not as bad as like before. Like before, like in my parents' generation, like my dad's brother, which is my uncle, he got kicked out of the family for marrying a Filipina. Like he was ostracized from the whole family, right? So
that's so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand it, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, it's just terrible. But like I said, it's in the past now, and now it's like you hear grumbles, but it's not like you don't get kicked out of the family anymore. You just get grumbled at. So so yeah. But it's not. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. But yeah, anyways, my coworker used to get really weird about this because he's a decider. So he used to tell me, "You're Filipino, blah blah." Then he's like, so I'm like, so you're born in Los Angeles. Are you telling me you're American? Then you're not Filipino because he's Filipino, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's right. Then he took his DNA test. Turns out he was like everything. Turns out he was like half Filipino, 1/4 Chinese, like almost a quarter white, like from Spanish blood.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was okay. He was like, oh yeah, you're totally not Filipino. You're like, yeah, you're Chinese and you're, I'm like, only because you got your DNA test done, now you're like, because your identity is all the races now, so you're okay with it. So it's, yeah, I'm like, God damn, deciders are so weird. No offense to deciders watching this, okay? Yeah.
Gotta cover your bases.
Gotta cover my ass a bit. Yeah. All right. So I have a few more questions for you, and then we'll Tiana, and we'll wrap up the interview. Okay. So
Sure.
One of my questions is like you being a weird EP. So like let's talk about the weird EP-ness, like the don't control me bro syndrome. Talk about like authority and like not liking being told what to do, or like rules is bad or control is bad. How do you relate to that personally?
I'm not sure if like it's because of the feminine SE and like the masculine NI, and also the sleep, so I'm okay a little bit with like releasing control. But when I was little, I hated the color pink because I felt like the color pink was being forced upon me. So I was like, no, blue, everything blue. Now that I'm an adult, like it's not that bad. I'm like, yeah, pink's whatever, it's cool, it looks kind of nice on me, I'll wear it sometimes, but like just not hot pink.
But it's more like your FI, right? The hot pink is more like an FI thing than like
yeah, I think so.
Okay. So because you have NI, it's your freak out with control is not the same as me. I have SI. So with me, SI is more like the paperwork and all that stuff, right? But for you, because it's NI, it's like the system. Like the system is the bad guy, like the government system. Do you relate with that? Like the government or the system trying to enforce rules to you that doesn't make sense, or it's like you don't agree with?
Kind of a little bit with like the school system. I always hated the school system. I thought that it was like too rigid and like it didn't what's the word, cater to like the differences in people enough, which it really doesn't. But yeah, I hated, even though I did really well in school, I hated school, and I didn't go to college because like I hated the FAFSA, because it was just really annoying. Like
What?
the FAFSA, FAFSA. So it's a program where you apply to get like loans and grants and whatever. So you can in the US, so you can get help with paying for school, but you need information from your parents. And at the time I didn't live with my parents. So I hated the fact that I had to get this information from them because I didn't live with them. And so I'm like, I'm just not gonna go to school. I just decided, nope, no college. I don't want to waste my money.
And then your parents didn't force you to go because you're Asian, right? So they didn't force you to try to go to school?
Surprisingly, no, because I
Oh,
have weird Asian parents. Like my dad actually was like raised in Oregon, so he's like pretty American.
so he's a hippie.
Yeah, and my mom was raised in Hawaii as well, but she's also kind of weird. So she wasn't really she didn't really force me to do anything either. I think they both like were disappointed, but they didn't push me. And I think they're also introverted. So
Oh,
yeah,
oh, you have both two introvert parents. Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Do-
Well, they're not together anymore, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think that works out. I think you need one introvert and one extrovert in like a relationship for it to feel natural because it feels
yeah.
weird. Yeah.
At least the energy, like the animals.
Yeah. Um, I guess your husband is extroverted then?
Yes.
Yeah. And did you have siblings?
I technically grew up as an only child, but I do have half siblings that I lived with after, like in my senior year of high school. So I do, yeah, I do have siblings and sisters, but for a lot of my life, I grew up by myself. So I have like a little bit of both.
So you had an interesting life, two introvert parents, and you were the only child. So you were like alone a lot. And I guess
Yeah,
did you like that then? I guess you
I
probably
loved it.
yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
got to do whatever I wanted. Ultimate EP life, honestly.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah. No. Because I'm like okay, maybe I don't know. It's if you had extrovert parents, would you have liked that though? If they were more like involved and talk to you more?
I think I would have liked it more because I resented it a little bit as I was growing up. I thought that I needed a little bit more structure,
Yeah.
but I mean, I turned out fine, and I can, if I want to, I can talk to my parents now, but they're still pretty introverted, so I have to be the one to reach out and everything.
Gotcha. And then you
Mhm.
mentioned that you were talking about energy earlier. So talk about being energy dominant. Like you preserve energy and then you expend it. So you do it in that order. How do you personally experience that?
Um, I try to be as efficient as possible so that I don't have to use up too much energy for like day-to-day things. That way when I do want to do things for people, I have the enough energy and I'm not like overexerting myself. So I'm always like thinking about how I can make things efficient. And I thought it was, well, I mean it is because I'm lazy, but in a way it's also because I want to do my best and I do want to work hard. So if I make things easier in this area, then I can do more in this area, if that makes sense.
And because you have play after sleep, do you feel like you get more extroverted near the end of the day because you have all this extra energy?
Yes, absolutely. Towards the end of the night, that's when I start to like, um, I kind of like go around the house and just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do all these things. Like, and then it's the end of the night and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I need to go to bed.
Yeah, you're being weird. Yeah. Um, do you are you energetic in the morning or no?
Actually, if I have to be, I can be. Like with Starbucks, I used to work opening shifts and I
Yeah.
really liked that because it forced me to wake up and be energetic. Coffee helps, but being around people and like like being forced to attend to the tribe actually does make me energetic because you know I have to like at that kind of job.
Right. Yeah, it's a very social job. So yeah, you
Mhm.
can have no choice, which is good. I think it's good for someone like your type. You learn
Yeah.
to get out of your shell a bit. Um, and because you are energy dominant, you are missing out on the information stuff. How do you feel like if you were more balanced with, consume and blast, that your life would be better?
Um, I think that if I was able to blast better, it would be better for like just getting things done, like life stuff. But I I think I get around that by just like doing my sleep. Um, but in terms of I guess like sharing with people, trying to help other people uh with like by teaching them about stuff, I guess I don't know. I do want to help people. So I don't know. I'm not really sure.
That's
I'm
fine.
doing it right now. Blast last. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all good. It's all good. Um, they describe blast last or consume last, so energy dominant people in the class, as very goofy. So would you say you're extremely goofy and you don't take things seriously?
Yeah, pretty much. It's sometimes like my husband is trying to have like, a nice romantic moment with me, and then I'll make like a weird face, and he's like, "What are you doing? I'm trying to kiss you." And I'm just like, "I'm sorry. I just I can't help it."
Oh, you ruined the vibe, the mood
Yeah.
by being goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I have an energy dominant girlfriend, so I know. So it's annoying. Yeah. All right, cool. Last two questions and we'll wrap it up. All right. I don't know what I haven't asked you though, so I'm gonna have to think. Um, let's see, what haven't we covered? I feel like, oh yeah, right, I remember now. So because you are an observer, you have problems with fear. So can you talk about your problems with fear, or some fears that you may have that you is like a reoccurring problem?
I do fear uh like death in a way, but not completely because like of my faith, but I do constantly think about like when my husband's out working, he works on ladders and stuff, like he's installing internet. And I'm like, towards the end of the day, I'm like, okay, so he's gonna come home. I call him throughout the day to, just to check in on him. But sometimes if he doesn't answer and it's been a while, I'm like, okay, so do I have to prepare to be a widow right now? Did he fall off of
Got
his
it.
ladder? I go through that almost like not every single day, but sometimes like pretty constantly. But not in a like, oh my God, my world is ending kind of way. I'm just like, okay, so do I have to prepare for this like super change in my life now, or are we good? I'm also like constantly worried about like doing something and my baby gets hurt, or like my baby dies, I'm just like, oh God, what if I trip and like smash her head on this table? I'm just like constantly thinking about something like that. So I'll like see it in my brain and I'm like, okay, don't move, don't move too fast, like, and it won't happen. So yeah, I do kind of like fear like the physical pain and like, death and all of that.
Yeah, and like the future, I guess. Like the yeah,
Future possibilities.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you're looking at the possibilities right now, and they look they look dark. So um, I wonder if NI is more correlated with like dark possibilities than any, you know.
Possibly.
Because I noticed that people with NI, regardless of where in the function stack has it, seem to be more pessimistic about the future
Hmm.
than NE people. And I wonder, is it because you guys are like tunnel visioning on that one thing that could happen?
Possibly.
Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
NE, right? So there's many things that could happen. So I'm not like worried, not concerned. But like for you, it's like one thing. So it's like, huh?
True.
What is that like? Like just thinking about one thing. That's weird.
I think the way that I try to like not make it so bad for me is I'll say it out loud so that it sounds ridiculous. And I'll say like, it'd be really funny if I just like dropped all of this food on the floor. Because like I wouldn't want to do that, right? Because that's terrible. I'm like, but I'll say, it'd be really funny if this happened. That way I'm like making sure it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, then I'll like, laugh and cry at the same time.
Okay, got it. And then last question is, do you have any question for me before we wrap up the interview?
No, I think that I don't have any questions.
Okay, cool. All right, so Tiana, thanks for coming out and doing this interview. Like, you're definitely an EP because you did it like the same day. Usually I book the interviews in advance. You're like, yeah, we can do it tonight. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And I'm like lead player, right? So I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine. Sounds good to me. So yeah, thanks again for coming out and sharing more about your life and how you perceive things based on your specific type. Your sleep is very strong. I think that's like the one thing I've noticed about you, because I've interviewed people who are consume sleep play, and some of them, their play seems stronger than their sleep. But for you, your sleep is definitely very strong. And I wonder if it's because you're an only child. So I don't know.
It could be. I've been sleeping my whole life, so.
Yeah, because my girlfriend needs sleep, but she's freaking extroverted as hell. Like she goes to work and she's like exploding, like chatting with all the coworkers and stuff. And like at home, she's like chatting my ears off. And I'm like, you're pretty extroverted for a sleep consumed person, But
it's double masculine.
Sorry?
Plus mine's double masculine. I don't know what her modality
Yeah,
is.
it's the same as you. It's double masculine also. She's an INTJ jumper, right? Like
okay.
NIFI, sleep consume, play blah. She's pretty much like you, except like she's an IJ. But she grew up with two brothers and like she had a big family, so I can see that as like playing the part. But for you, it's like, yeah, you're used to being alone. So I think that's why your sleep is so strong.
Right.
Yeah. So that makes sense. But you have like a bigger family now, right? You have kids and a husband. So maybe I think in 10 years it's gonna be different, you're gonna be more
probably
extroverted. All right. Have a good night and see you around.
Thank you. Good night.